guys, so I thought I'd interrupt the last few of my travel vlogs in the Lake District with a little flip through of my traveler's notebook setup and to talk you through some of the art supplies that I've been using to document my journey. This is the first time I've done art journaling while traveling, and I loved it. This is a passport trifold size traveler's notebook from Little Mountain Bindery based here in Northwest Arkansas. They do really beautifully handcrafted traveler's notebooks. I love supporting small businesses, and this trifold is a unique design to them. Also, you can pick what color cord you want, and see these little X's here? I don't know if that's, yeah, now it's in focus. That means that there's two elastics to attach your books to, as opposed to Midori, it's usually just one, and then you have to add a lot of connectors and things. So this one is really easy to get started with right away, and you can still add even extra, but those two will be really secure. This is a little bag and Hobbit hole charm. I got that on Etsy as well. I can't remember the name of the shop or if they're even still selling this, but I'll look it up before I post the video, and I will link to that down below. So I thought I'd just do a little flip through of my setup. When I'm not traveling, I actually use this for my wallet on day to day. I don't keep as many notebooks in here, but I made this little felt pocket myself. It has two card slots here, a big pocket, and then two card slots in the back. So I carry that day to day. There's not really anything here. Let me know if you'd like to see a tutorial on that, and I can do one for you. Then I have my first insert. This is where I did my initial planning for the trip. I also used a lot of my UK bunting stickers. You can still get these in my Etsy shop through the end of May, but I'll actually be closing down my Etsy shop as of June 1st. So if you want any of my stickers, be sure to hop over there. I left the front half blank because I thought I might write in it, but I ended up doing my writing alongside with my sketches in the other book. So I didn't write in the first half of this, but I left it blank. And then in the back, well, as of the middle, I have what area we would be in each day. So rather than keeping track of every single thing we would do, like having an itinerary for each day, I just put a general area that we could explore. And then I made a page with adventure opportunities. This is kind of slid around a little bit, but there we go. With adventure opportunities for each area. So in Richmond, which is where our Airbnb was, these were some different places that we could eat. And these were some different places that we could explore. And then I've done the same thing. That's for like Oxford Street. That's for King's Cross. This is for Spitalfields area, Central London and South Bank. And so just doing this kind of helped me get my mind around what things were near each other. I used this in combination also. We carried around my London Moleskine because that has maps and everything, which I've already done a video on, and I will link that up. And then in the back, I made some shopping lists, which I didn't actually check things off, but just making these lists helped me keep in mind before the trip what kind of things I was looking for when we were shopping and what people we needed to pick things up for. Then my passport fits in here, and this you can see is connected with an elastic connector. This I also got from Little Mountain Bindery. So that fits in here nicely. This is a watercolor insert from a different Etsy shop I can't remember the name of. Sorry if I'm shaking the table a little bit, but I'll link that below. It has really nice watercolor paper in it, which is a little thicker. The Little Mountain Bindery inserts are really nice, but they are not watercolor paper, and wanted that specifically for this trip. So I'm just going to do a little flip through. Some of this I did before I went, and some of it I did on the trip. So I painted this. This was my first attempt at the Thames. It isn't very accurately shaped. Then after I came home, I filled in some icons for places that we went on this trip. My Hogwarts Express got a little bit out of control. It's a little big compared to everything else. But this is the highlights of where we went. Like I said, I did that after we got back for the most part. This is a map that you will have seen in the intros of my London vlogs. This is one I obviously did before we went. Then this I painted in the wild. This is actually one of the few ones that I did on the trip. I didn't do as much as I'd wanted to, but I really did enjoy when I did sit down and watercolor. mostly because we got in a rush a lot and we're trying to see a lot of things, but I wish that we had slowed down and done more paintings and sketches like this, because when you kind of sit down and it makes you really look at something when you're sketching it and when you're painting it, looking at the color and the light and the lines and all of that. So it's not perfectly accurate, but when you're looking at something, you're deciding, you know, what details to include and what details to exclude and things like that. So we walked over 20,000 steps the first day, and sitting down to sketch this is the first time I really realized that we were there. So anyway, this is Tower Bridge. It's not the Tower of London. Some people think it is. The Tower of London. I'm sorry. This is Tower Bridge, not London Bridge, which some people think it is. London Bridge is actually really plain looking right now, but this is Tower Bridge, and right across from that is the Tower of London. And these are all the places I listed out that we went on the first day and how many steps we went and all of that. So then, this is like a failed attempt when I was trying to draw Richmond Bridge. I'm going to put the ticket to the Cutty Sark right here and cover that up because I wasn't happy with how it was turning out. This one I did on the trip. This is like what we did on day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5, and day 6. And this is like a little thumbnail sketch of Cutty Sark in Greenwich and of the Harry Potter studio tour. This is my favorite cafe, Tide Tables Cafe in Richmond. And then these are some of the things that we ate. These are some more sketches and paintings that I did on the trip. And then I thought we would do more in the countryside. I really had envisioned like sitting outside and painting, but the weather wasn't really cooperative. So I ended up doing these after I came home from photos, but that works too. So this is one of my favorites. Let me see if I can show you. I love how this bridge turned out. I'm not that keen on the waterfall. Waterfalls are hard, especially because they don't look the colors you think they would. But I love how this bridge turned out. And then I'm going to put a train ticket here because that's the view from the train. And that's some more from the Lake District. My little map here. This is the Ride of Water. I love how my little, oops, can you see that? The little Ambleside. This is Bridge House, and it's National Trust property, and it's been like a million different things over the years, like a tea shop, a cobbler's, like a ticket toll booth kind of thing. This is a place that we stopped for tea in Grasmere, Baldry's. This is Sarah Nelson's Gingerbread, which is also in Grasmere. So we walked from Ambleside along this path, past both Ride of Water and Grasmere Lake, and then got to Grasmere. And then the last one that I've done is Hilltop, which is Beatrix Potter's home. And I have a few more that I want to do back here, but I've been adding these last few I've done after I've come home. So I don't feel the pressure that you have to do it on the trip, but I would definitely suggest, like, I would tell myself to slow down and paint more. But at the same time, you kind of want to keep going and see as much as you can while you're there. So that is what I have there. And then the watercolors that I used for this are called Peerless Watercolors. And I made this palette myself. So Peerless Watercolors come, they're basically a piece of paper with pigment really strong, like about that size. You get a set of squares. They're from like Victorian times, and they've been used for that long. And so I cut like the big squares down into little squares. There's tons of different YouTube tutorials that show you how to do this. And I tried not to be too perfectionist about it. So because they're like hand cut and they weren't perfectly measured or anything, but the pigment was really, really thick on them. And if you touch them too much, it was all coming off on your fingers. So I just did it really kind of casual. And then I put them down with double stick tape. And then I wrote the name of each color and did a little swatch of what that color looked like on the watercolor paper. And then this, I don't know if you can really see on the video, this is a piece of acetate that you kind of use as the palette when you're on the go. And I just washi taped that in here. And this is also attached with another little elastic that goes between the watercolor book and the palette, and that's also from Little Mountain Bindery. And so when I was painting, I would just slip this out, and I would usually take this out as well. And let me show you some of my other supplies. So the brush that I used is the Pentel Aquash brush, and you put water in the barrel of it, and then you squeeze, and it comes out the tip. I have it in 3 different sizes here. And so you would like squeeze some water on the color paint that you want, and then if you wanted to mix different colors, you would bring it over here. And I'm already getting water on my palette, so I don't need to close that back up right now. But you would mix different colors on this, and then I also would travel with just a paper towel, which you can clean this off with, especially if you get different colors on it. And then when you wanted to change colors on your brush, you would also clean your brush by just squeezing water and pressing on the paper towel until it came clean. So that's kind of the benefit of using the Pentel Aquash water brushes and the palette as opposed to your traditional travel watercolors. So that's why I did this. These, I have tried like a different brand of water brushes and did not like them at all. So I think the Pentel Aquash are worth paying just a little bit more for. So I actually brought this in 3 different sizes, but I only used the medium tip. I don't know if that will focus at all. It wants to look at the palette, but yeah, that's what the brush looks like. And you just screw this off to fill the barrel. You do have to keep in mind if you're traveling on an airplane that this counts as liquid. So you either have to have it in the clear bag when you're going through security, or you can have them empty and then fill them when you get to the other side. So these are the brushes that I use. These are the only brushes that I really packed. Some other things are paper clips. So this in particular will fly around this little acetate sheet. So I like to keep a paper clip on here. You can put it, one way or the other depending on what colors you're using. And then another paper clip to hold the sheets together when you're painting, so that they kind of lay flat for you. This is the pen that I packed. It is a Micron 02 pen. I don't know if that wants to focus for you. So the best thing about these Micron pens is that they are actually waterproof. So you can draw this and then go over with your watercolor washes, and it's not going to bleed the way that some pens would. And then I also packed some pencils, but I didn't really end up using pencils on this trip, but it's always nice to have them for an option. So this is the little pencil case that I used for the trip. This I found not in London, England, but actually at Tuesday Morning. And I am a fruit sticker collector for my Wreck This Journal by Carrie Smith. This is one that I picked up to add to that I haven't added yet. This was from a Brayburn apple. So I had all of these in here, and this is what I carried most days with me. I could just put this in my backpack. Had the paper towel in here as well. I think I had one fewer paintbrush. And then the paper clips can go in here also. So this is what I had with me most of the time. Now I also did bring my other watercolor set when I realized that I was not overweight. This is, light and easy, but I decided to bring my other travel watercolors just in case, and I actually did not end up using them. So in the future I probably wouldn't. But this is kind of your alternative to making your own palette. It's just a little bit bigger, a little bit bulkier. It does come with its own paintbrush here. You put together like that, and this you can use as a palette. So there's kind of 2 options for your travel watercolors, but I did really enjoy these. Now some of the colors, like you can tell, I used a lot of olive green. So I may need to replace this swatch, but I can just like pop that off, and I have, you know, more of the pigmented paper, and cut another square and put on there. This paintbrush is kind of small, and it's hard to get all the bristles in there without making them go crazy. So this is what I kept my other, you know, my bigger watercolor supplies in. And here's another alternative for you. If you don't want to use a traveler's notebook, but maybe you're vegan or something like that, you don't want to have a leather notebook, this is one that I picked up at Hobby Lobby, and I used the 40% coupon, so I got a really good price on it. And so this is a notebook that I didn't use on the trip, but I've just been kind of playing around in, kind of a low stakes. I really love how that turned out. But just to kind of play around with some different ideas, and I was testing out my different watercolors and things like that before the trip. So this is an alternative that's also a small watercolor sketchbook if you don't want to go the traveler's notebook route. It is a brand called Stillman & Burn Beta Series, and I'll link that down below as well. And the only other thing I have in here is a really big paper clip. So the small ones tended to work for this traveler's notebook, but when I'm using this type sketchbook and I need it to lay flat, the big heavy paper clip helps weigh the extra pages down. So I brought that as well, just in case I went painting crazy and needed an extra sketchbook when I realized that we had a little bit of extra room in our luggage. So these are my travel art journal supplies. And if you've made it to the end of this video, I would love to know how you document your travels. Do you do photography? Do you do sketches? Do you do video? Or do you not really document and you just kind of put everything in your mind? Or do you journal? I did a little bit of journaling in here with my sketches, but not a lot of journaling on this trip because we were also doing photos and videos, as you guys have seen. So that's all for this one. I'd love to hear how you document your trips below, and I'll see you next time. Cheers!